once you have employment, you're looked at differently.
Let me say a little.
And you'll see that.
If you want people to succeed, why would you take education out of the prisons? Why would you take education out of it? Why would you stop vocational programming?
They've taken correction out of corrections, or
yeah.
rehabilitation out of rehabilitation.
When we were sitting on the couch watching TV, and it's like every other commercial was news flashes that highlighted crimes that were being done, mostly in Philadelphia, but the surrounding area. And they always, almost every crime that they talked about was done by, quote unquote, a returning citizen. And it was just untrue. It was untrue. And being returning citizens ourselves, we took it very personal and felt like it just made us feel like stigmatized and like we weren't free. And so feeling that and understanding it, we just felt like we wanted to do something that would highlight the good that returning citizens are doing, the people that we know that are doing good things, holding down jobs and taking care of their families. And we wanted to highlight that in film, and we were able to do that.
So Debbie and Mike, for people who don't understand the terminology returning citizens, just define what a returning citizen is.
Okay, well, returning citizen is someone who was previously incarcerated, did time upstate or wherever, and then returned back to their communities.
Steve, in the time that I've been around the Housing Authority, and it's been over 10 years now, the Housing Authority has been very supportive of returning citizens. Why is that? I mean, you run a housing authority, and you and I have talked about this many times. It's in many people's minds enough to have a house and a place to live. Why is that not enough for the housing authority as it relates to returning citizens?
Well, our emphasis has actually been on employment for returning citizens to be given jobs first, even before housing. My philosophy is if you have a job, then the housing will follow. You'll have disposable income. Along with housing, of course, comes rent. You have to have some level of affordability. And once you have employment, you're looked at differently. And a lot of the prejudgment that you're going to inevitably experience as a returning citizen is gonna fade away because you're simply a working person. That's going to help you with your housing application, and that's going to help you with a whole host of other applications you're going to be involved with. A large portion of our staff at the Housing Authority are returning citizens. Some of our most valued employees now, after years of having that approach, were returning citizens, and I don't think a lot of people recall that now. I'm not going to say it was always successful, and I'm not going to ever be able to say our workforce is 100% that, because there are hiring restrictions that would get in the way of that. But as the years have gone by, it has become a more successful endeavor because now you have some people who came as returning citizens that are now veterans of our workforce. Wow. So when young, newer people come through, they don't even know it, but they almost serve as mentors. Because look, anytime you're going through a major transition in life, there's good days and there's bad days. There's the one days that are tougher to get through, and if you have somebody to talk to that's been there before, that is a big help.
And Debbie,
Yeah.
Mike, I can't think of anything more important than storytelling. I'm a storyteller. I've done some filmmaking, and I think that the way that you all have decided to narrate the stories of returning citizens and their contribution is incredibly important. Putting a story in place helps to create a narrative that redefines the citizenship, the returning citizenship. It helps to give hope to the returning citizenships, because you all are giving some great examples. Mike, I don't know if you were about to say something else, and if you were, please go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to comment further on what you and Steve had just talked about, because when we mentioned earlier that there were policies put in place to make it harder for people to return to their communities and prosper, housing was, near the top, if not the top. And not giving someone the opportunity to go back to their community and live with their own relatives, which is what some of these policies had done, and which, the Chester Housing Authority had given us a chance with, was huge. Man. That's a huge thing, a huge check mark, off your list, where you can then go further. But yeah, so we really appreciate that. And
Yes.
it was a house and a job, so it was both here at Chester Housing Authority. So we really appreciate that. And so, and I know so many others have too.
Yes.
And we had tried other housing places and were denied just for that reason. So we were a victim of that ourselves, and why they would want to deny people that basic right gives you question about what their motives are in when people are coming back to their communities. But anyway,
it's a really complicated wheel to traverse, because there are so many bad things out there that do happen. So, and a lot of things are understandable between us, but it's just makes it really, really hard for people. And we do, like Mike said, we do appreciate, we need more people like you, Steve, for sure. We need more people like that.
As Debbie and Mike referred to, a lot of government policy was written really to provide obstacle to people, just trying to get to a second chance and another crack at life. So with whatever power we had, we accept government funds here, so we're oftentimes limited in how we write policy. But wherever we could find an opening to amend policy to be, what our experience told us was more beneficial to folks we serve, we've done that. So there are exceptions to those normal rules about doing criminal background checks and drug testing and all those things that employers put in place years ago to quote unquote clean up their workplaces. We've relaxed that quite a bit. There are different levels of criminal activity that the greater community might feel it needs to be concerned with. And then there's also amounts of time since criminal activity took place. That's a factor. So and a lot of some of these things I mentioned is actually what led us to eventually have a relationship with Debbie and Mike.